Good morning, church. Welcome to Take 5. Today we're in the second chapter of John. We're going to read about some miracles that Jesus performed. So let's get started in verse 1 of chapter 2. On the third day there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus also was invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. When the master of the feast tasted the water, now become wine, and did not know where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now." This the first of his signs Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this he went down to Capernaum with his mother and his brothers and his disciples, and they stayed there for a few days. The Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple he found those who were selling oxen and sheep and pigeons and the money changers sitting there. And making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and oxen. He poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And he told those who sold the pigeons, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." So the Jews said to him, What sign do you show us for doing these things?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews then said, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and will you raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking about the temple of his body. When therefore he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs that he was doing. But Jesus on his part did not entrust himself to them, because he knew all the people, and needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man. So we read about 2 miracles that Jesus performed. The first one turning water into wine, and the second one, he was raised from the dead after 3 days, which he said was going to happen. So I always read these miracles, especially when I was younger, and I always wondered why Jesus didn't do miracles like this anymore. And a couple things had been brought to my attention while I was reading this, and God still does perform miracles. They might just not be as I don't know the right word, but as theatrical, maybe that might not be the right word. But God definitely performs miracles still. Some of you know the story. We had some missionaries from Cowie Church over in Africa, and there was a family there in a village, and they had been trying to have children for years. And it was to the point that other villagers were saying they were cursed. And some of our missionaries went there, and they prayed over this family. And long story short, they now have 2 babies. One is named Baby Cowie, and the other one is named Baby Rose. And so that's clearly a miracle of faith that we got to be firsthand involved with, which is really crazy to think about, that we would be so lucky as to be used by God in a direct way like that. So that was my biggest thing that I kept thinking about while I was reading this chapter, is just that God still performs miracles, but we have to have faith and be looking for those miracles. So just again, the biggest thing for me this morning is just keeping our faith and believing that God can still perform miracles. So